No one has had to exercise more patience than the next man I'm speaking to, Belal Muhammad, who finally gets his title shot. He challenges welterweight champion Leon Edwards in the UFC 304 main event, July 27 in Manchester, England. Belal, finally. What was your reaction when you got the news?
I mean, it was amazing. People saw when they posted it. My coach caught the real live reaction when Dana announced it, right? Because we knew about it a couple weeks before that it was like a done deal, but you're still waiting for that video from Dana to announce it and put it out there. And honestly, I didn't really know it was going to be the main event, so that was awesome to have and hear. And yeah, it's like a huge sense of relief. Uh, you get the weight off your shoulders. You get to stop hearing all these people crying and people like trolling and tweeting and like you're never gonna get it. So it's like now I can laugh in your face. Told you so.
And it's been almost a year exactly from when you defeated Gilbert Burns and you were declared as number one contender that this announcement came. Did you ever imagine it would take that long? Because you had to watch Colby Covington challenge for the title. You had to watch Leon Edwards get three opponents offered for UFC 300. And none of them took it because of Ramadan. And you're the one guy that is down to fight in Ramadan. So what was going through your mind throughout all this?
Yeah, I mean it was definitely frustrating the whole waiting, right? Because I love to fight. I like to be active. I'm always training. I'm always in the gym. So um, yeah, it was hard. And but it's like that's the guy like Leon is. He's not an active champion. He's he's very hard to deal with. Even with that Kobe fight, it took forever for them to book it. For this fight, it took forever to book it, and I think it's more so because this guy's trying to hold on to that belt as long as possible and act like he's a long-standing champion. And he looks at, oh, I've been a champion for 300 days, like it means something. But in the end, your resume is what it means something, right? When you look at the guys like Kamaru, who's active champion, he was trying to fight at least once, twice a year. Um, and those are the champions that you respect. Guys like Adesanya Volkanovski, who looked up the next challenger right away. And after the next fight, they had their other fight booked or they're set. And they always wanted to fight the next best guy. But Leon, he's a coward. His team, they're all afraid. And I think they're all afraid because they know he's not that good. And they know that I'm a terrible matchup for them. And they were trying to delay this as long as possible, even try to call out other people. And even with those three fighters that, supposedly got offered the fight, I think it was more so the UFC trying to hype up a guy that doesn't hype up himself, right? Nobody hears about Leon. Leon doesn't talk. He comes on a podcast once every 3 months and he like whispers. Nobody can understand what he's saying. He looks stupid. He doesn't have confidence. He's awkward. He's weird. And I think I'm going to do everyone a favor on July 27th. After I beat him, we're going to be done. We don't have to hear about him no more. The UFC doesn't have to promote him no more because he's not going to be a champion. So then he'll be forced to do stuff himself.
And you said it was a frustrating wait for you. Did you reach a point at all throughout this year where maybe you were considering booking a fight because you don't? I know you don't want to be inactive, but you're also promised a title shot. So were you ever tempted to consider taking another fight, or were you just having to exercise that patience?
I mean, there was really nothing. There was nothing offered, but there was talks, right? We were at some point close to fighting Kamaru Usman, but then he ended up taking a short notice fight against Hamzat. So then it was like, all right, well, it's meant to be now. There's literally nobody else for us to fight, uh, and it was just like I gained a lot of not confidence, but just like my hunger was satisfied with like teammates that I had. I was cornering a lot of guys, I was coaching a lot of guys, and I would go to their fight camps and my boy Ignacio Balmondez, so like Charlie Radke being in their corners and watching them win, being in their camps, it like kept me motivated, right? Because I want to see my boys win, I want to see my guys win, and I satisfied my urge to get victory through them. So uh, I just had to keep learning that way. My coach Lewis Taylor, like we've been together from the start, and he had moments in his career where he never got a shot in the UFC, but he would always help me reach my goals, fight for my goals, and like he said, it kept him hungry because he knew that I was hungry. So that motivation kept working for him, and he ended up becoming a PFL champion at the right time. So for myself, it's like this is the right time, the right moment for me to become the champion. And all that time, all that waiting, it's only gonna be worse for Leon because I was just getting better during that whole time. I wasn't on vacation. I wasn't chilling. I was just sharpening my skills, sharpening my new tools, and like I'm just gonna be the best version of myself.
Yeah, you took me to my next question. You don't strike me as a guy that goes out of shape. You're kind of always in the gym. We always see you in the gym. But was it hard in terms of weight management because you didn't know when you were gonna get this fight, right? You were kind of staying ready. So what was that like? Did you have to kind of keep a specific diet throughout this entire time just in case you got that call?
I mean, it was good to have that moment where I was waiting as the backup because I used that as a camp, right? I used that the whole thing, honestly, to be a camp to fight Leon. I knew if I was going to end up fighting Kobe, it would be an easy fight for me regardless. So we focused that whole camp on just Leon. And I was in shape. You guys saw me on the scale. I wasn't just like one of those where, all right, let's just cut this weight and get there just for a check. It was like, no, I'm gonna take this as a real thing, use it as a real camp, get in the right shape, get in the right time. And I'm never a guy that gets super big out of camps, uh, because I'm always training, I'm always in the gym, I'm always working, so I'm never getting crazy out of shape. And when I took that Gilbert Burns fight on 3 weeks' notice, that was like the biggest I ever was. So knowing that I can make the weight on that 3 weeks' notice, it tells me that I can make the weight at any moment. So it doesn't really matter.
And speaking of Burns, I saw you went on his podcast recently. What was that like? Because I know there was some back and forth between you guys after the fight, but we can see how much respect the both of you have for each other now. And he kind of walked back his comments, which was admirable to see him do. So what was that like? I'm sure you guys had conversations off camera as well. So what was that like to, your last opponent, but to be on his podcast?
Yeah, we keep going back and forth, right? We're like a odd couple where we're boys. Then we're talking trash. Then we're boys, but in the end, it's all respect. I have respect for all my opponents that I've ever fought, and like even with me and him, even before that fight, we were friends. We were cool, and we have a lot of mutual friends. And there was never anything that was like malice about it. Obviously, we both want the same thing, and I understand that too. And sometimes you get that ego side comes out when you lose a fight, and it's like, well, F this guy or F that guy. Then you start realizing to yourself, it's like, honestly, this guy, I should be wanting this guy to win. If somebody beats me, I want them to become the champion because then it's like I lost to somebody good. I lost to somebody that can be the champion. I have a chance to. I'd rather have them win the belt instead of them lose and be like, oh, I lost to somebody that lost. Um, but yeah, in the end, like I said, I'm never a guy that hates people. And when they asked me to come on the podcast, I was like, all right, cool, I'm down. And yeah, it was all respect, nothing crazy.
But I did hear you say in a couple of interviews that you hate Leon Edwards. Is this a matter of the frustration of waiting that long to get your shot, or is it something about Leon specifically that you don't like?
No, I literally hate his guts. He's making me hate people with a London accent. Sorry, Tuco. Like people that with that British accent pisses me off. Anytime I hear him, anytime I see him, it just makes me angry. Um, because honestly, it's like you said, this delay, the talking on their end, the narrative they're trying to push, even with their coaches and his brothers trying to call out for other people. They were literally calling out for Gilbert Burns after I beat Gilbert Burns. Like their whole team just pissed me off because they all have low IQ. They're not very smart. They're the people that give fighters a bad name because people think of fighters and think we're dumb. But no, there's some fighters out here that are educated. Like I have a degree. There's some guys out here that aren't that dumb. But when you hear Leon talk, his coaches talk, his team talk, you're like, man, these fighters are all dumb as rocks. And that's what his whole team is. They're dumb as rocks. And I can't wait to end them and their team. They're not gonna have nobody else after this once I walk through them. And there's not gonna be really no other build-ups, right? Because the UFC realizes that they can't build up Leon. Leon can't even build himself up, and he's a champion. So they're like, all right, why are we going to push anything behind him if this guy don't even try anything himself? And this guy's kind of like a moron. So let's put our eggs in the Billy B basket after this.
And I'm sure you've heard his coach's comments talking about your first fight, saying that you were looking for a way out. Hearing what Leon also has been saying, do you feel like they're underestimating you?
I really hope they're underestimating me. That's the my favorite part about this is because I've been underestimated my whole career by everybody, the fans, other teams, other coaches. But after every single one of these fights, they're dominant victories. There's never been a fight where I'm looking at it like, oh man, that was a close decision. That was a terrible decision. What happened here? What happened there? People could say whatever they want. Oh, these are decisions, but decisions just mean I just dominated that opponent for the full time, right? It wasn't like, oh man, he's caught him with one punch and knocked him out. It's like, nah, I beat you in martial art, in the sport the whole time, dominated you. And Leon sitting there talking his trash, whatever, right? The Gilbert Burns fight on 3 weeks' notice, I threw 150 strikes and landed on Gilbert Burns, and he threw 50 strikes, less than 100 strikes on Kobe Covington, who disrespected him, disrespected his family, and he tried to make it seem like, oh yeah, I was trying to see him backstage. you're gonna go follow him backstage to low kick him. Like we know that you're fake. You had a chance in 25 minutes to do anything. You didn't do absolutely nothing. So like I said, they put their foot in their mouth whenever they talk. His coach, oh yeah, nothing really happened that fight. He to look for a way out. I literally had surgery after that fight. Made a post after the fight about how my eye looked. Um, but like I said, they're not very smart. They're kind of dumb, and I just can't wait to get my hands on him because, like I said, all this anger, all this, it just built it up. Hearing him talk, it just builds it up. The disrespect that they give my resume, the people I fought, the streak I'm on, it's just building up. It's all building up to that time when I get my hands on him.
And your first fight with him was a couple years ago. It was a short notice opportunity for you. Now it's kind of the opposite scenario, right? You've had to think about him for such a long time. Do you think he's improved since the first time you guys fought? What have you noticed from his recent fights?
No, I don't really think he's improved. I think that you know what he's good at, right? He's good at dictating a pace and low kicking. That's what he's good at. He's good at, making you guys fight at his level. And the second fight with Usman, Usman was in his face and was breaking him. And we saw him getting broken. We saw his coach begging him to throw punches, begging him to, come on, Leon, wake up, do it. This is what you've been dying for. And even in that fifth round, before he threw that head kick, it's not like it was he went all out, right? Like he just threw a head kick and it landed perfectly right spot. It was a Hail Mary and it got there. And then the third fight, it was, all right, let me stay away from him, far away from him as possible. Low kick and get around. And I think Usman just came back early in that fight. So I don't think Usman was himself. So I didn't really take anything from that fight. And people could say, oh, well, his takedown defense looked better in that fight. But it's like Usman didn't have his same setups. Usman didn't have the same confidence. And the Kobe fight, I don't really take nothing from because Kobe sucks. And that fight was awful. That fight was awful to watch, awful to be there. Like I said, Donald Trump was there, was shaking his head. Dana White was over there shaking his head. And you had that even in the build up, right? That was the easiest fight to build up for Leon because Kobe just talks. So all you got to do is talk back a little bit. And he didn't do no interviews, barely talked, barely built it up. It was terrible. And then the fight was terrible, even after he was disrespected. So it was all trash. So I didn't really take nothing from that. But you look at my fights, right? You look at the guys that I beat in since that fight. I had to fight a straight up grappler in Damian Maya. I had to fight a straight up striker in Wonder Boy. I had to fight a finisher in Luca. I had to fight a striker and a jiu-jitsu guy and Gilbert Burns and then Sean Brady. So like I've been through the trenches. Well, he kind of like coasted his way in the last couple of fights. So he hasn't been in there with somebody like me, and he hasn't felt what I'm gonna make him feel on July 27th.
And how do you anticipate the build-up with him to be? Because this is a pay-per-view. This is in his home country. I'm assuming there could be a press conference and whatnot. So probably more media for this. How do you anticipate the build-up with Leon this time around?
I think they're going to realize that this kid's an airhead and they don't want to hear him talk anymore. So they're probably going to give me a lot more interviews uh, because they don't want to hear him whispering or him just like looking for his coach for a motivational speech or something like that. He's just going to look really dumb. I hope that his coach shows up to the press conference because I'd rather talk to him or his brother because Leon's not going to really bring anything to it. And honestly, people think that I'm going to enemy territory, but bro, I mean, Manchester's full of Muslims. I think that it's going to be a huge pro Bully B crowd over there, and I think there are going to be way more fans there for me than him.
And you've been that time I saw you in London for when you guys were promoting your last fight. Was that your first time in the UK, or have you been before, like multiple times?
It's funny, right? Because the last time when I went, it was to promote my fight in Abu Dhabi,
Yes, to
and
AT.
I was literally there for 2 days, and that was the Aspinall against Curtis Blades fight, the first one. So it's cool to see that come full circle. Now they're on the co-main event to this card, and that was my first time there. Um, we've seen some cool stuff in London, but this is Manchester. So I don't know. I've never been to Manchester, so yeah, it'd be awesome to see. Awesome to see the fans and the crowd over there was crazy. The crowd over there, the energy they brought was amazing, and I'm hoping that the same crowd, even though it's 3 a.m., the same crowd shows up to Manchester and brings that same energy.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that at some point, but we could talk about it now. How do you feel about the timing that you have to fight? Because I believe it will probably be about 5:30 a.m. Local time when you make the walk. I think around then. So how do you feel about fighting at that time?
I mean, for me, honestly, like you said, I've been waiting for this moment my whole career. I've been waiting for this moment since the first Leon fight, just to punch him in his face. And whether it's 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 8 p.m., the anger and the fuel that's inside of me, nothing it doesn't really matter. I'll be awake for that. I'll be awake to freaking punch him in his mouth. So I'm not gonna need to. Oh, you thinking about jet lag? You thinking about this? I don't really care about any of that because I'm gonna the adrenaline that's running through my veins is gonna be ready for that night no matter what.
Have you ever felt that way towards an opponent? I know there seemed to be a little heat with Sean Brady, but would you say this is the like most kind of animosity you've ever felt towards an opponent?
Yeah, I mean with the Sean Brady fight, it was close to not as much hatred as I had for Leon, but it was a better fight for me because I was so used to fighting nicer guys. It was Wonder Boy, it was Damian Maya, it was Luke. So then you get Sean Brady who's talking all this trash, and I'm like, all right, cool. Then I'm getting messages from like his cousins or something like talking trash to me, and it's like it made me all right. Now I feel the disrespect. Now it fuels me to want to hurt him. With the Leon, that same fuel, that same hate, that's built up for 3 years now. Now that's they're gonna be like 5 times as much as the hate I have for Sean Brady. But Sean Brady's been calling out, saying some nice things. So like, I don't really hate Sean Brady anymore. I got the win. It don't matter.
So do you think maybe you and Leon, after the fight could hash things out? Like, do you picture a scenario like that?
No, I think after the fight, I'm gonna literally walk to his corner, do the Khabib thing, throw my mouthpiece at them, laugh at them, point, and maybe hop over the fence and jump on his brother.
All right, there you go. If you need to buy the pay-per-view, there's your reason. There's your reason for more pay-per-view buys. Well, speaking of Habib, you've been training with him and Islam. Is this the first time you trained with them since UFC 280?
No, I actually went to after the Gilbert Burns fight. I went down and trained with them at AKA and helped Abu Bakr train for his fight. But they're always traveling. Anytime they're around, I try to get as much time with them as possible, right? Because I always say it. I say like 1 day training with Khabib is worth like 100 days training with anybody else because the knowledge, the just the energy that you get from them guys, it's like priceless. So it's always good to feel from them, get that time, and it was cool to just like be in that same mindset as like Islam was fighting next week. So to anytime to be in a champ camp to feel that aura, uh, it's a great time, especially for myself. For me, this being my first title fight, talking to them, seeing what their feels are, asking Islam about his fight in Australia and how he coped with the time change and what he did over there, what he ate for breakfast and stuff. Like it's always good, man. And yeah, anytime you just get to hang out with those guys. See, I'm training with the Michael Jordan of the sport and Habib, and Islam is basically like LeBron James of the sport. So it's always good to get those feels with those guys. And now I got to bring my boy Ignacio with me too. So now he gets to feel it for the first time. And yeah, we both just leveled up so much. And we got a couple black eyes.
Who gave you that black eye specifically, or that training secrets?
Training secrets, but I was training a lot with Sagid, who's going to be on the contender series. He was number 3 in one FC. Now he's coming down to the UFC, but he has to go to the contender series. And I'm like, bro, he could be ranked in the UFC right now. And I can't wait to see him in there because he's been punching me in the face a lot. But I've been telling people it's been Habib. It makes the stories sound cooler.
Well, I mean, have you been able to get any insight? Because I know Leon way back in the day spent some time training at American Kickboxing Academy. I know it might not be the best idea to put too much stock into that, but have you been able to get any insight from Islam, from Habib on Leon's time there?
Yeah, they said he sucks. No, I'm just playing. For me, it's like so long ago that you really can't. People evolve, right? And even for myself, how much I've gotten better since then. So it's like I'm not one of those guys that even asks other people like, "What do you think about him?" or other opponents like, "Did you see something?" Because what I would do, and I would even when I watch tape, like I don't try to fully expect somebody to be better, right? Because when I first got into UFC, I always used to be focused on tape, and I would be like, oh, he's gonna do this, he's gonna fight exactly this way, and then something will happen, and then it was like, all right, well, that didn't happen. So nowadays we just find different patterns from fighters, different ideas, and like you've seen in my last 5, 6 fights, every fight I come into with a different style myself, and I have to fight every fight a different way in a different uh, mode. And I think with this fight, we're gonna do the same thing. We've been breaking down Leon for over a year now, so we have plenty of things that we know and we've seen, and we know what he's weakest at, and we're gonna take him to that and drown him.
Yeah, you say drown him, and I've heard you mention, you thinking that he has a tendency to break. So is this kind of like the game plan, or how you envision things playing out? Like you drag him out into the latter rounds, the championship rounds, and that's where you're going to continue to get better as the rounds go?
No, honestly, I think that I'm gonna rock him really early, and then I'm gonna take him down, and I could finish him with a TKO, but I'm just gonna let him back up. Then I'm gonna look to his coach, and I'm gonna tell his coach, "Yo, give him some motivational words. Let him man up. Hurry up." And his coach is gonna look at me, and he's like, "I don't know what to tell him." And then I'm just gonna hit him again. Then I'm gonna say something to him. Then I'm gonna hit him again. Then I'm gonna get him in a rear naked choke, probably in the first round, and then right before he's about to tap, I'm gonna let him go. Then I'm gonna let him breathe a little bit, go to his corner. Hopefully, his coach gives him some better advice. Second round, I'm gonna take him down again. I'm gonna start dominating him again. I'm gonna start hitting him, elbowing him. This time I'm gonna look to his brother. Like, bro, you're not gonna come and jump in for your brother? You're not gonna help your brother out? Then he's gonna look at me, he's gonna curse at me, he's gonna swear at me, and then I'm just gonna be smiling. Then I'm gonna look at Leon and I was like, all right, I'm done with you. Then I'm gonna finish him in the second round.
So that's your official prediction, second round finish?
Second round. You call me Mystic Muhammad.
Well, Bilal, I appreciate your time. I'm going to leave you with a couple more questions. Obviously, it's been a very trying time in Palestine. What is it going to feel like to get the opportunity to become the first Palestinian UFC champion?
Honestly, it's one of those things where you get very emotional when you think about it, right? Because you start thinking about like little stuff, and you think about like you want to be excited for yourself because this is a huge opportunity. This is a dream that you've been working for. This is that moment, but you know that your people are suffering. Your people are dying right now, and it's the worst time of my life that I'm being able to witness this and see this every single day. And you're just like, you feel guilty to be happy for yourself, uh, because you know what they're going through over there. So for myself, it's gonna fuel me to go that much harder in training. It's gonna fuel me to not cut any corners. It's gonna fuel me to make sure I get my hand raised because they need a victory more than anything. They need a victory. They need to have this flag raised with the UFC title. They need to have this flag raised uh, with their colors associated with it. It's going to be in the history books forever. Nobody's going to be able to erase that. Nobody's going to be able to say anything about it. Nobody's going to be able to doubt that. They're going to have a Palestinian champion, 100%, 1000%. And if that one day, that one moment, makes them forget about what they're going through for 10, 15 minutes, it'll be that's the least I could do.
What is the headline going to read Sunday, July 28th?
The headline July 20 July 28th is going to be like uh he bullied him, son.
There you have it. Well, Bilal, we'll wrap it up there. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Best of luck in training camp, and I'll see you out there in Manchester, inshallah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Inshallah, see you there.